I want to talk about why homoeroticism is an issue, or where that whole thing comes from in women. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I've worked with victims and perpetrators of abuse over the years, and I got this question many, many times on my posts about homoeroticism in friendships. If you want to, in female friendships, I've also done a separate post on in male friendships and in families. So if you want to, take a look at that, you can always click on this comment. But this commenter says, I think this is just covert narcissism and admiring you, yet envying you. And the only way that they can cope with this is to try to control your perception and how you are perceived. So I agree with this commenter. So I think there's a few different things that goes on when you have someone that has homoerotic thoughts towards you, meaning that they identify as being heterosexual, but they're sort of manifesting feelings of sexual attraction and desire towards you, but they aren't being overly clear with it. It's coming out in a much more covert and pathological way. So yes, I do think a lot of it can be, that struggle. There's a fine line. There's a thin line between love and hate, which I said that earlier on one of the other posts. A lot of times when a person has homoerotic feelings towards you, they have a deep love and admiration towards you, and they really like you as a person, and you may make them feel really safe. But they also idolize you and put you up on a pedestal. And as much as they put you up on a pedestal and say that you're this, you're that, you're such a great friend, and they love you, and they want to have you in their life as much as possible, they can also be just as quick to devalue you and tell you that you are the scum of the earth. They don't like you, they hate you, and you make them sick, you piss them off. How dare you choose other people over them, and you've hurt them, you've cut them to the core, to the white meat, so to speak. So they can spit pure venom. As much as they can be sugary sweet with their compliments, they can also be very venomous and attack you like a poisonous snake. And so I think there is that piece. I think the second piece is that they admire who you are authentically. So whether you identify as heterosexual, because I had a lot of other people commenting that I'm homosexual, I'm bisexual, I'm this, I'm that, whatever you identify with. I think that they deep down admire and covet your ability to show up in the world as authentically as you are and as much as you can, which is something that they feel like they are not able to do. They aren't able to do it, or they don't want to do it. That could be one of the things. I think the third thing that happens, and they, going back to that, they can't show up. And so there's a dislike there, as much as there's an admiration towards you for being able to do that. There's also a dislike for you for being able to do that, because when people start thinking about, oh, you're able to do that, they also start to hate you because they're not able to do that. It's very immature, emotionally immature. And so I think the third thing that happens when people have homoerotic tendencies is there is oftentimes a mother wound, or even a parent wound. So it's usually connected to a mother wound or a parent wound, and where a person feels like they are either deeply controlled or deeply restricted, or they have to live up to a certain sort of reputation or character in which they cannot disappoint their parents somehow. So A lot of times that does tend to happen as well, where you have people that are just like, parents are very heavily involved. There can be a level of enmeshment with their parents. There can be, their parents can be controlling. And so the controlling behaviors that their parents have towards them, they then turn around and manifest that towards you. So I think that's another thing that tends to happen. There's also a curiosity about wanting to explore feelings of same sex, same gender loving attraction. And so they are putting the feelers out, to see what you're down with and what you're okay with. So they want to explore that with you. They feel comfortable with you. So it might be just like, let me see how much I could like put out there and what that person is down with. Let me see if they can pick up what I'm putting down, right? Because I'm not, I like them enough to want to try something, but I'm not bold enough to tell them I want to try something. So instead of me being straight up and getting consent and asking them, exploring this with them in a conversation, I don't want to do it that way. I kind of want to try to do a sneak attack through the back door, so to speak, and see, what would happen, because my ego would be too fragile, right? Which is why anytime there's any sort of what they perceive to be feelings of rejection, they lose it, right? So in their feelings of rejection, it could be real or it can be perceived. So whenever they feel rejected by you, you might notice them screaming, you might notice them getting mad. They may stonewall you for a little bit and not speak to you. They may scream at you. They may be demanding to have access to something or feeling like you've shut them out, right? And it's because they have such a fragile ego. They cannot take rejection or abandonment in the smallest way. None of this, by the way, is your fault. But I definitely think that there is... these folks like to color within the lines. So they prefer to have an image of themselves that is nice, neat, and in a pretty bow. According to them, it's not necessarily meaning that it's true, but they want to keep this certain perception or this certain image about themselves. But at the same time, they have these feelings and they're emotionally immature. So they can't communicate appropriately or properly, and they can't emotionally regulate effectively as well. And so they want to have something that they can control and possess and keep all to their own. And that, unfortunately, is you and your friendship. These people that have these feelings, they typically don't have a lot of empathy. They may show up as having empathy, but a lot of times if you dig deeper, it's not true empathy. It's really more of like a cover to go along with you. So they will mirror back to you, what they think you want to see, because they like hanging out with you. They like getting close to you. They want to do everything with you, and they want to be in your skin. But really, it's more of mirroring than it is actual empathy. And the way that I know that is because they can turn on you and be very vicious. Just as much as they can put you on a pedestal, a lot of times these people will self-destruct, and they will throw your relationship away, and they're very impulsive, right? And so, but yeah, they want to have that control, and they will self-sabotage, and ultimately they can be dangerous in a lot of instances where they just take things way too far and they lose control. But again, going back to that parent wound, that notion that they have to be perfect all the time, and that they have some hidden tendencies. There's also, lastly, They also like the idea of being taken care of. And so you may be the perfect person they see to do that in whatever way they see fit. Like, follow, and share if this has been helpful. Thank you so much.